Can you believe it? In 3 short months, he'll be back. And he will hit the ground running! This race is not about the competition. It's about saving our country. And John Loughlin is coming back from Iraq to run for Congress to help make America great again. Ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker tonight and our keynote speaker, House Minority Leader, Brian Newberry.
Good evening, everyone. About 4 months ago, Mike called me and said, we're going to have a thing for John. Can you say a few words? And of course, I said, oh, absolutely, sure. And then I saw the invitation came out like 3 weeks later. It said keynote speaker. I thought, that's great. Very, very smooth, Mike. Very smooth. By the way, Mike, where's my teleprompter? I thought only politicians do teleprompters for speeches, right? So I do the tennis thing. Last Thursday, I was at North Smithfield High School at the open house, the parental open house. My daughter's a freshman there. We were at the American government class, taught by Mrs. O'Brien. I've gotten to know her because her class has periodically won some state championships and come to the State House the last few years. And she was talking to the parents, and she said, because they study government, they study the Federalist Papers, the Constitution, they're asked pointed questions and so on and so forth. And she said, the students still haven't learned that they get the material and they can say it in a paragraph. They think that they say it in 3 paragraphs and repeat themselves over and over, they'll get a better grade. And it doesn't work that way. And I thought that's a perfect description of my speech. I'm going to say it once, and I'm going to say it shortly as to why we're all here. I was raised to, and I believe in a democratic republic this is important, I was always raised to respect the office. Whatever you thought of the person who held a particular political office, you always respect the office and the people in it. It's important as a society we do that. And I follow through on that, but I got to tell you, with the current people we have representing us in Washington from this state, and our current president, I'm finding it increasingly difficult to do. So I'm just going to say this. We have a situation where our president and our congressman, and our sitting U.S. senator is also up for election, by the way. To put it in the most charitable terms I can put it, they don't know what they're doing. Now, I don't want to depress everybody in the room by talking about the litany of economic problems that we face in this country. But I will tell you this, our current leadership, our current congressman, Mr. Cicilline, our president, and our senator. Go on, you can do that, that's all right. They don't understand, from what I can see, the first thing about basic economics, wealth creation, or job creation. They don't. They talk a good game, but they don't get it. Every time I hear a politician, and we have some in our own party that do this sometimes too, talk about how the government or they are going to create jobs, I cringe. The government does not create jobs. The private sector creates jobs. The government's job is to create an environment in which the private sector can flourish. It's to set the rules, build the infrastructure, educate the kids, and get out of the way. That's what government should do. And the reason that I endorsed John Loughlin for Congress, as I did 2 years ago, is not just because he's my friend and he's a man of honor and integrity, but because he understands that concept better than anyone else who's running. He understands it better than the current incumbent, and with all due respect for the other gentleman who's running as a Republican, he understands it better than him too. John has proven his integrity, he's proven his honor. I served next to him in the Rhode Island legislature, and I watched how he worked. I watched how he kept his word. And this is important, by the way. I watched how he worked with our friends across the aisle, because that's important. Being a bomb thrower doesn't accomplish anything. John knows how to work across the aisle when it's appropriate, without losing his convictions and his principles. He knows what this country needs to do to move forward. And I hope that you all get out, as I know you will, you wouldn't be here. You get out and you help him raise money, get volunteers, and get him through to victory in November of 2012. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker, State Representative Doreen Costa.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for being here and supporting John. This is an absolute fabulous crowd. Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here today to support our next Congressman, John Loughlin. I'm going to make this brief. I have a very short story to tell you about John. When I first announced I was going to run for office, John was one of the first to call me and wish me luck. He called me and he said, Doreen, keep running and don't look back. Some of the best advice I've been given, and John, I haven't looked back yet. I ask you all, can we afford a few more years of David Cicilline? No. Can we afford the tax and spend mentality of David Cicilline? Absolutely not. John is the only man that can lead the way in Washington, in my opinion. John is a man of honor, integrity, and he is one of my all-time heroes. Thank you so much, John, for serving. We love you, and we hope you get back soon. While others like to spread rumors that John is not running while he is serving in Iraq, shame on you. You know who you are. Does this room look like John's not running? I don't think so. Mr. Loughlin, stay safe. We will be praying and waiting for you, and you will get a hero's welcome when you come back. I promise you that, sir. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker, State Senator Frank Maher. Come on up, Frank. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here today to speak on behalf of John Loughlin. John Loughlin, as you all know, has the background, experience, and especially backbone to be our next congressman from District 1. When I first met John Loughlin, it was my first term in the State Senate. On repeated occasions, I had turned to him for his advice and his knowledge. And he always made time, no matter how busy his day was, whether he was on his way to committee, out of committee, going home to his wonderful family, or having a cigar out in the lot after a difficult day, to take the time to talk to me and give me his advice and knowledge. When you elect John as the next congressman from the 1st Congressional District, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get no secrets, no empty promises, and you're not going to get a non-existent lack of vision. Because at the end of the day, I don't care who the other candidate is that's running for the 1st Congressional District to represent Rhode Island, every other candidate that I've seen so far is indecision with a lack of vision. But with John, you're going to get what you asked for, and you're going to get the next congressman that's going to deliver on what he says. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Senator Christopher Odiano.
Thank you all very much. You know, it's a pleasure to be here for John Loughlin. I'm going to try and put my own personal spin on it. The people in this room, really, we should all know we don't have to worry about. Obviously, if you're in this room, you're the choir. So I'm going to try and make my remarks more towards anyone who's going to see this, who doesn't know John or might hear about this before the election. It is important for the independent voters, the Democrat voters, the Republican voters, Rhode Islanders in general, people in the 1st Congressional District to understand these facts. Why would I come here to endorse John Loughlin? Because I've known him for 6 years, and he was the reason I first ran for office. He took time to come to a Portsmouth Republican Town Committee meeting as a first-year freshman and member of the House of Representatives.
He took the time to talk with me and explain things. If you're going to try and elect someone, you're always looking at a job resume. That's the way I look at it. What qualities does a person have that allow you to say they'd be a good person to do the job? Look at what John has done. I'm just going to give you 3 quick examples. First of all, when he stood up and he ran for political office in this state as a Republican and stood for his values, which is incredibly. You may not know him like I know him. Maybe you didn't see him standing out on the highway doing honking waves days and days and days, good weather and bad weather. He's committed, he's hardworking. When he understands he wants to get something done, he'll do it. 2 and 3 echo one more principle, why every person in the 1st Congressional District can trust him and put their vote behind him. When he's thinking about taking a job, does he just sit back and read the data, trust the numbers, or just learn off some sort of talking points? No. When there's an immigration issue, what did John do? John went to the Southwest. He toured the area. He talked to the principal players. He got his facts, and he composed and put together a solid plan. And then number 3, when you want to talk about someone who wants to be in Congress, you got to know something about the state of our nation, where our troops are, how this functions, how does it tie into the world events. Does John just read that? Does he read it off something? Does he get talking about it? No. Typical John Loughlin. He enlists and goes and serves his country, learns more about the region. Who do you want making the decision? Someone who reads about it, or talks about it, or pontificates, or someone who wants to get the job done? So again, beyond this room, when you're talking to the people who are independents, no matter who, the people who are undecided may not know exactly what's going on, these are the points you should be hammering home. If he's applying for a job, John Loughlin's the candidate who should get this job.
Our next speaker is the chairman, the president of the Chairman's Caucus, Mark Smalley.
Politics for 2 reasons. The first one was I thought that this party had lost its way. I wasn't particularly happy with the administration that was in power. And Patrice Kennedy had to go. Those are my 2 reasons. John accomplished the first one all by himself. Okay? What I need to come back and talk to you about is getting the word out. Okay? This room is the core for John Loughlin. Please get out there, start talking about it now. I'm finding people more receptive to conservative ideas right now because of the state of this nation. We can be more proactive. We have to be more proactive. We can't come up short again. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, next, the President of RERA, Ray McKay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Batting cleanup is easy. All the remarks about John's goodness have already been made. RERA supports, we're a conservative organization. John has always been a friend to RERA. He's been a friend to us for the past 8 years. Attended our first Christmas party. One of the most horrendous parties you could have tried to get to because we had a blizzard that day. And he still came in Coventry from Tiverton. Now, there wasn't a special award for him that night. He just came because he believed in us, believed in the message, believed in himself, and believed that making the nation right was the thing to do, and that's why he was serving. And that's why he's serving now in Iraq. What I'm here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I personally support and will continue to support, and supported 2 years ago, John Loughlin. We're all in this room doing that today. This is a wake-up call for this room, my being up here at the end, because it is time for the grassroots to initiate, to get engaged. The other side, and when I say the other side, we're not at a moment that we're talking about David Cicilline. He's not here yet. There's another battle we have to engage. We must be energized. The other side is raising a lot of money. The other side is doing a damn good job at what they need to do to beat John Loughlin. We need to step up to the plate. We need to hammer home the message. John is the solid conservative candidate that we need to represent us in Washington. He is the man for our families and our children moving this nation forward. We must beat and win in the primary, because the next election in November will be a cakewalk, because David Cicilline is David Cicilline. So that's the call that we have before us this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once we leave here tonight, donating, buying the raffle tickets, supporting John, we have to go out to our friends and our family. We have to do the grassroots thing. We have to start making the phone calls. We have to talk to our friends and our family, all the families. A couple of years ago, how important is a single vote? How important, and Dave Towns in the room so I can talk bad about him. Several years ago, 2004, was running for a delegate to the RNC in New York. And Dave and I were on the ballot, and Dave came in third. He got to be the delegate. I came in next. I lost by 3 votes. My family didn't go out and vote. They stayed home. They didn't think it was important. Our primary that's coming up is going to be very important. We're going to do our level best to make sure that the conservatives vote for who they think will best represent Rhode Island. We're going to make sure that Republicans select the Republican nominee.